asleep. Okay, so let's see. This should be pushing anytime. Yeah, perfect. So this is I can go live anytime now. So just to recap, we're just gonna do like a really brief intro of like what we're doing, like obviously who we are and stuff like that, which we just do as like a conversation, and then what we're doing now, and then I really just wanted to jam on how we all got here, because I know that we've all done like so many different things that have led us to the roles that we play right now. And that's kind of a really interesting topic, especially right now where everyone's trying to figure out how they're going to make their next, paycheck or whatever it is.
Awesome. Okay.
How's that hookup looking on your side, Dino?
It's not going to let me share to a group just because it's not loading that option. I'm getting like a color wheel spin from Facebook. So I'll just do it on my personal timeline. I'm just queuing up a little message to have with the live.
Yeah, and once you do share to your own, you can just go into your profile and just share it to the group as well. That's what I do. So I just go live on my profile and I share to a couple groups.
Brilliant. Okay, that's what I'll do.
People in those groups just won't get the notification, but anyone that you're friends with will get the notification.
Which is why I'm so glad that my mom isn't on my profile anymore, because she binned off Facebook, because she would be the kind of person to make those really awkward comments. She'd be like, "Oh, it's so nice that you're going on Facebook."
Yeah, I got rid of all my family on Facebook a while ago.
Well, whenever you're ready, Dino, I'll push this live, and then we'll just spend a couple of minutes figuring out where we've gone live and do it from there.
All right, 1 second. Yeah. Okay, so now is it weird that it won't let me hit the go live button? Let's see.
No, it'll do that till Jonathan goes live himself.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Oh, by the way, this is really funny, Jarod. So after that last live that we did, where we discussed the difference between like white labeling and partnerships, one guy like PM'd me being like, "Thanks so much, it helped so much, and I was really grateful to get this. It came at the right time and all of that." I was like, "Yeah, our least viewed video, but nonetheless, I'll take it."
Yeah, most engagement. Yeah, Hanson, after that, he messaged me. He's like, "Thanks for answering my questions."
That's awesome. Okay, Dino, are you good for me to toggle this on?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, let's do this.
Let me close the door to my room, but yeah, I'm good.
I just realized I have to upgrade the plan, because we're on that one plan that only lets you do it to 2. So I'm just gonna add that third. Oh man, are you kidding me? I don't know if we're already live, so
yeah, we are.
We are. Okay, yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna bring up Dino's in just 1 sec.
Okay.
That is a bit frustrating that they wouldn't tell me that before I press go live. Boom. Okie dokie. We should be good to go. And just 1 sec, being redirected. So much fun. Don't we all just love technology so much? Hey guys, to all of you that are already tuning in on my profile, on Jarod's profile, we're just figuring out a small technical issue and then we will be going ahead. Right. Boom. Okay, Dino, yours should be going live now as well. It's just saying it's connecting.
Let's see.
Yep, so now it's saying it's connected.
My button, it won't let me push it live.
Let me go to your profile and see whether you are unknowingly already live.
No.
Yeah, not on mine.
Here, what if I give you a different key, stream key? Let me try messaging you a different stream key and see if this one works. This is the one I have up right now, so it looks a little bit different.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Send me that on Facebook.
On this episode of Digital Marketers Who Can't Go Live.
Yeah, we're really showing off our skills right now.
Yup. This would be even more awkward though if we were actually, like production engineers or anything like that. Have you seen any of the hilarious like Zoom fail videos that have been circulating of like people thinking that their camera's off and so they took their laptop into the bathroom and all kinds of like freaky stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that video. That was hilarious.
So bad. Right, and that should be connected now, Dino.
All right, now I see this guy.
Awesome.
Okay.
Hey, yeah. Yeah, the description came through, Dino. It's live on your profile. It's looking great.
Cool. My screen's frozen. Do I hang out in the actual Zoom room or anything?
Yeah, we just do this via the Zoom, and like the other thing to note as well is if you have your live open, make sure to mute it. Otherwise, you start hearing yourself back 20 seconds later.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm not seeing a mute thing, but
You just mute the tab itself by right-clicking on it.
oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, it's mute right now. So all is good.
Sweet. Wow, we managed in the end. Hey, that's some Thursday feat for you. So exciting. This is our first episode with a guest. Dino, we're super, super lucky to have you. Thanks for taking the time. I know it's still the morning for you, right?
It is, yeah, 10:14. So, but I've been up for a while though, so it's not an 8 a.m. thing. So the gears are turning. I'm awake.
That's awesome. So Jarod and I have been doing this little thing for, is this our 4th or 5th episode, Jarod?
This is our 4th, yeah.
We've been doing this for 4 episodes, where we just decided that we were sick of, being sat on our own in front of our computers all day and not getting the chit chat of the general marketing industry that we would normally get from going to events and conferences and gigs and stuff like that. And we were just like, let's just jam out on some live streams and just discuss things that we know deeply well and see what people would think of it. And so we were like, what would be really cool? It would be really cool if we could invite someone that is also in digital marketing, that also, has some roots in SEO, but that has started doing something else. I was like, that's Dino.
Yeah. No, it's awesome to jam with you fellas. And Yeah, definitely had the start in SEO, and then quickly kind of transitioned into Facebook ads, and then from there, uh, more of the coaching thing, and now
That
going a different direction too. So it's kind of crazy happening over here.
because
Um,
when I first got introduced to you, it was in one of the Facebook groups, I think. And at that point, you were doing SEO for like, decent sized businesses in like the San Diego, LA area, right?
yeah, and this is now like eons ago. I feel like it's like ages myself talking about it, but yeah, we were working. We would work with local businesses and had some solid national accounts as well, and but I just remember the good old days. Like we were page one, first in Google Maps and first at organic listings for San Diego SEO, and like our website was crappy. It was like
Right.
a couple keywords and a couple backlinks, and people had no idea how we did it. And we had all these inbound leads coming in, and that's back when there was still a 7-pack running. But, and you could claim fake listings so easily. So we had like 4 or 5 listings all over the place, and but yeah, it's certainly changed. Certainly changed quite a bit.
Absolutely, yeah, it's changed. Well, and the funny thing is, like, you say that it's eons ago, but like it's I always find it so funny when I talk to people that are in very traditional businesses, and I tell them, well, our company's been around for like 5 years. And to me, in the marketing world, that's really impressive because so few businesses make it to 5 years. But then I'm talking to a law firm that was started in like the 70s. You know what I mean? It's Jarod, like we've known each other for quite a few years now as well, right?
Yeah,
And you
that
got
was.
you got your start. Did you start on Upwork?
I technically kind of. So I guess my quote unquote real start was I started on a site called Hire Writers, which is very similar to sites like Text Broker. And I was just like writing really, really crappy content for really cheap. And kind of through that, because all those platforms are pretty much just everybody just wanting SEO content. And this was back in 2012. And so SEO
Mhm.
content was all the rage. So it was just like write this thing, add this keyword this many times. I just did that often enough, and I didn't know why the hell I was adding keywords into stuff. But eventually, someone wanted me to write an article, kind of ironic, of how to do SEO. So I wrote this. So I had to do a bunch of research, and it's like, oh, okay, now I kind of understand. So that was kind of my quote unquote start, and it was writing SEO content, and then kind of learning about that. And then I didn't do anything for a couple of years. I did a corporate job for a little bit, and that wasn't a good idea. But then kind of once I was sick of that, I was like, oh yeah, what's that SEO thing? And that's when I kind of signed up from Upwork, and the rest is history.
It's so wild to me because it's SEO is one of those rare industries where people don't really study to become part of it, right? Or marketing, like marketing as a whole, yes, because obviously, people go to business school and they learn about marketing and stuff like that. But um I can't remember, did either of you go to school for any like unrelated to marketing? Just did either of you go to uni?
Yeah, so I have a degree in marketing, and I remember that when it came to like online marketing in general, I think SEO was only mentioned in one textbook, and it was like a paragraph. It was just like SEO is this thing. It has something to do with search engines. Now here's how to create TV ads.
That's
So it's
insane.
yeah, it's I can assume that it's taught more so because that was maybe 2013, 2014, which means those books were probably written 2-3 years prior to that, and just like updated issues. So I would imagine it's probably a little bit more lengthy today. But yeah, it was
Cool.
something that was mentioned, but that's about it.
Dino,
It,
did you go to school?
yeah. I have a marketing degree. I had a good 5-year college experience. And yeah, it was really what my junior year of college. Uh, my mom, thank God, she told me like one summer, she's like, you need to figure out how to get a job, which means you need to have a website and you need to have a LinkedIn profile and optimize. And she was like, you need to be blogging and on YouTube and all these things. And so I was like, all right, like, she's like, otherwise you're going to be like every other college graduate with a resume. And so that's what, so then I launched a blog. Funny enough, it was about basketball. It's still online if you want to see something atrociously horrible of a college kid's thoughts on professional basketball at the time. But I launched that blog, and then I was like, okay, this is kind of fun because I love basketball, hence Jordan back here and everything. And so then I just started blogging, and I was getting traffic, and I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And so then I started studying SEO because I was like, how do I get more traffic?
Right.
And I started interviewing people, and I somehow, like, Twitter had just come out. I convinced, there was the first ever Twitter conference being held in San Francisco, and I was at Sonoma State University, so it's just north, so basically north Cal, so only like an hour north of San Fran, small little town. But there's the first ever Twitter conference, and they were only going to have like 100 people there and a couple celebrities. And funny enough, they had MC Hammer, because he was one of the Twitter users there was, giving a speech, right? MC Hammer, who had gone broke at this point, right? And so he was, I think, trying to climb back up. So got to meet him, but the tickets were outrageously expensive. They only had 100 people. San Fran, only 100 people in the room. I think the tickets were like $5 or $10 grand to be at this first Twitter release thing. But I just sent an email to the organizer and said, I'm a college kid, just an hour away with a Twitter account. Like, can I come in and write a paper on you guys and all this stuff? And so they snuck me in. And then from there, I was like, this is fun, this cool digital world. So that was kind of my start.
That's wild. That's actually really wild. That's, to even think that, like, how close you were to the inception of Twitter in itself, that's kind of a wild thing. And what I think is so crazy about the way that the industry is how quickly it evolves, and you can almost see it, like, how you see like news cycles and how there's like a story that's really hot. You kind of seem to notice that especially in SEO, but also in all the other categories of marketing, where there's like a hot topic and people are really fanatic about it. So when I first got properly introduced to digital marketing was about 6 years ago. And I already had a lot of experience in all things sort of IT, and I understood usability, I understood how to build websites. I already had that corporate job behind me. And I started, and we could never figure out, in like looking back, how we actually met. It might have been through a forum or something, but I met this guy called Luke, who knew a lot about SEO, and he was a really smart guy. And he was like, man, I'm telling you, this online stuff, that you can make a lot of money here. And I was like, I'm all ears, let's do something. And at the time, PBNs were all the rage. Like, everyone wanted to own a huge private blog network to boost their sites up, no matter if it was for clients or affiliates or whatever. But the problem that people were having was to get a lot of unique content. So the stuff that you're talking about earlier, Jarod, a lot of unique content for their PBN as cheap as possible. And so that's where we found our start in building a Filipino writing team to write articles for, like, I think we sold them for like $4.25 per 500-word article to these guys that were building these huge PBNs. And it was, we would get orders of like 200 articles, 1,000 articles. It was just this huge operation of churning out content. But what's interesting is how quickly all of that then changed, and how everyone started moving away from PBNs and moving into like guest posts, and then eventually into niche edits, and how people are pursuing different things. But what I think is really interesting, almost like a high school reunion style, is every time that you meet the people that from around the same time that you got introduced to this, they all seem to be doing similar things. Like they all started off around the same time as you with like a really small, crappy project that they're trying to like make work. And now they're working on, you know, something where they're more in a like a managerial role over a business rather than, you know, tinkering around with a little website. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's one thing that I've noticed more so than ever is, so I only started getting involved in the SEO community in about 2016. So I had known about SEO for a bit. I had done it, I would say, over the course of 4 years. I'd only done it for maybe about a year and a half, which is kind of on and off and kind of a gap. And then I was like, okay, great. So I went to a conference. The first ever conference I went to was Ungagged in Las Vegas in 2016. And what I noticed is that when I started to talk with people, everyone started around like 2010 to like 2013, 14. And that was like the range where like 99% of people that I talked to started, with like 2012 being like kind of, which is the year that I started being very kind of in there. And I just thought that that was really interesting. It's just how it just seems like everybody started around that time frame. I very rarely meet people that are like, oh yeah, I just got started in SEO like 6 months ago, or like, oh yeah, I've been doing SEO from 2000, where they're actually, you know, not BSing it.
Right. I mean, that could just simply be that somebody did a really good job at marketing the dream of like a passive income or something around that time, right?
I know who that person was. It was Alex Becker.
Let's be honest. I mean, like, what,
I think
2000?
I think
2010?
Alex Becker sold everybody on SEO. He had like I think he was the first major like blog I had seen out there where he was constantly producing training and then had course after course afterwards. I think that there was an explosion from people's interest and awareness in SEO from what he did, which is funny to think that he got his start there as well.
Sure. Well, and then also there was Matthew Woodward was very active around that time as well. But in a different way. He was like doing a lot of guides on like how to sort of do like the more black hat side of things. So he did like a lot of like GSA guides and stuff like that. And then you had Becca, and once you were in that funnel, man, you weren't getting out without buying something. You know.
Becker actually taught me about PBNs. That's where I learned PBNs. It was the first ever course I purchased. And it was my second year of business. And I remember, you know, I was like 24 and thinking that like, you know, business was going good. So I don't need courses. I grind it out and I'll test my own things, and didn't understand the value of shortcutting by having somebody teach you something. But finally coughed up $500 for his course, which was a lot of money to me at the time for a course. He taught me PBNs, and I rolled it out, and it started working, and we saw insane results with it.
Right.
And so that was my introduction to a paid Becker course, and then a PBNs and so forth. But it's funny to think back on that.
It really is. It really is, because, man, it's the thing that I think is even funnier though is like, I know where you're at now, and to think how much training you've probably gone through on like other people's courses is really interesting, because I'm sure that that's influenced what you do now as a training provider, and then as a training provider, probably massively, right?
It has, yeah, because to be honest, there's been very few. Well, first off, I really research heavily before I invest in a coach or in any type of online course. So I've been lucky with the courses I've purchased into, and that they've always provided me some type of ROI, and have been a good investment. There were a few that I wasn't too impressed with, but the majority of them were solid. The ones I grabbed and always kind of moved my business up a notch. But at the same time, there's some that were missing elements. And so now that I think about it, probably that experience of seeing how it's done and how they're coaching and how they're delivering their training and stuff, definitely, I think, kind of inspired me to be more interested. and coaching myself. Yeah.
And that's so wild, because I feel like there are a couple of paths that people go down when they go into the marketing industries in the sort of subsection that we're all in, which is the sort of owner operator, which is that they go down and they either go down the agency route, they go down the productized services route, they go down the sort of like the what do you say, the like the wholesale route, where they're doing, you know, just one particular service and they do a lot of that. Then there's a training, then there's education and those kind of things. But what I find interesting is that people tend to change. And like, if I look at just the three of us, I feel like we've all pivoted from where we started to find things that are way more fruitful for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, so for timeline, just because, so with you, Dino, you started. When you first started with SEO, were you just doing client SEO, or were you doing it in-house for somebody else?
Good question. So when I first started, well, I started with my blog. That's kind of where I learned SEO, and then finished college, was hired pretty quickly out of college. But I worked at a traditional direct response marketing agency. So they would do mailers and TV commercials and print. And so they brought me in as like the young kid who understood digital marketing. And I was there for 6 months doing SEO and Facebook ads for their and when I say Facebook ads, it wasn't proper Facebook ads at the time. It was like you were allowed to boost a post. So that was like the first iteration of Facebook ads, was like you can boost a post. So it was like simple things like that, and then I took off. But when I officially started my agency, it was all client SEO.
And then you did that for how many years? And what was the step after that? Was it, because I think if I recall correctly, you went from just pure SEO to maybe a mix of SEO and Facebook ads, and then it seemed like you were focusing on just the Facebook ad side of things.
Yeah. So it was a good solid like 3 years of strictly SEO. And then we started playing with Facebook ads really early on. And I don't know, like I'm one of those people where I have to keep doing something new. It's just kind of like the way my brain works. Otherwise I get bored of it. Whereas it's a good and bad thing. Then other people who are able to just laser in on one thing can really, scale it out big, and become operation manager. But I've always loved learning new things. And so I got into Facebook ads early and really liked that because it was different and brand new. So then, we kind of transitioned into, we still have some legacy SEO clients, but we primarily only have Facebook ad clients now. And so the agency is still running. It kind of runs itself, not looking to grow it, but still have it running in the background. We'll sign right fit clients now that we would enjoy working with, and tend to be a little bit bigger. And then, main passion now is in info marketing products. And so, that was kind of the I think, that's probably the most accurate timeline of the progression of things there. But Jarod, I know you're doing a bunch of cool things with automation, or at least that's how I know you, is you're like the automation dude, right?
Yeah, I try to. I think it's because I'm allergic to work. I mean, so kind of what's funny is, before I thought I would ever get into SEO, I thought I was going to get into cybersecurity. I thought I was being in the IT field. I was really interested in cybersecurity. I started learning that side of things. I started diving into programming. I actually, at some point, I actually started a web development agency, and I got rid of that in 3 months because right away I was like, I can't handle it. Like, I don't like those types of clients. I still to this day refuse to take on web design projects, not even like outsourcing the work, just not worth it to me. So I thought I was going to go down the IT route. And then SEO kind of happened, and I've always been very tuned into the tech side of things. And I was just looking at how much our industry does through things like spreadsheets was kind of my kind of intro to automation. I was just like, man, there are so many ways to just speed this up with simple functions. And then I started looking into app scripts, which is where you can actually draw the script into things like Google Sheets. And then I was like, man, I have this programming experience and knowledge. I bet I could build, something to do this, or I could talk to a developer to build this because I know exactly how to talk to them to get exactly what I want. And that's been really big for me because I try to have as small as team as possible. And so the automation, we were able to take, certain processes down to, something that would take, maybe 60 hours to complete over the course of 2 weeks to something that maybe takes only 20, 30 hours over the course of like 7 or 8 days. And so that just to me is, where I really like spending my time, is just taking something that's fairly complex and making it as simple as streamlined as possible. And that's what gets me going. That's what keeps me up till 3, 4 in the morning, is when I'm working on some stupid little script. I just showed something to Jonathan that I built out for somebody for like more like Screaming Frog automations on like a timed cycle, crawling through a text file, different sites to crawl it through. And I was up to like 3, 4 in the morning learning batch scripts because that's Windows, not really, I'm on a Mac. So that was, that's what keeps me up at night. That's what I'm really, really interested in too. And then we started doing Google Ads about 1.5 years ago as well.
Speaking of that, because I can just tell by the way you speak and stuff that, yeah, you understand code and development and I've had a few failed software attempts. Like we got a couple off the ground, but me and my business partner, like as soon as we would actually have a software built, then all of a sudden there was something else that was happening in each of our businesses where we're like, we have to kind of put it on the back burner. But since you're so good at that, maybe you can actually make a live streaming software that's easy to
I actually looked into it a little bit because it's been fairly kind of frustrating, I would say, almost, Jonathan, where we've just been going through all these we've looked at like 6 tools at least. We've messed around with them. We've done test streams, and just every single one of them seems to have like one stupidly obvious feature just not available, or that'll just be in their $400 a month package. And so, it may be at that point, I feel like it's one of those things which I feel like is really cool, because I think automation and programming and that sort of like knowledge base is becoming more and more common nowadays, where it's just like, oh, cool, this doesn't exist, I'll just make it myself.
I think that what's fascinating is exactly that, the accessibility now. There are, we all probably know a handful of really good dev companies by now, after having failed a few times on trying to hire the right ones, where we can go, well, I want this, but with this feature, and and they go away and build it. And obviously what helps is now having the resources to actually fund an operation like that, which makes things a lot more interesting, because you can all of a sudden actually go and do that and say, well, here's a problem that I'm trying to solve, and go ahead and build that. But I think it's fascinating to see, because you just played that down a lot, Jarod, but the thing of you starting to go into Google Ads, whereas from our previous conversations, I would say that that's something that you're probably enjoying more because of the instant gratification that you get, right? Like it's because it's almost like a tap, like Facebook ads, where if you get it right,
Yeah, some of the biggest pros about kind of opening up ourselves to Google Ads, because it was something over the course of like 5 years ago, it was something that this client's running ads and they'll only hire me for SEO if I run that too, so whatever, I'll just play around with it. Never really cared too much about it. But then about 18 months ago, I was like, okay, great. What if we just started saying, hey, we do this too? And now 75% of our revenue comes from SEO, but we have twice as many PPC clients as we have SEO clients, just because the value of them tends to be lower as to what we get paid for that. But what's really cool is that this enabled us to work with much smaller businesses, because we don't need to charge as much and they just put in whatever and it's less work for us. It's also, people are always surprised when I say this, but the profit margins on the ads are higher than it is on SEO. Now, granted, people with SEO, some people do a little bit of sketchy things where, the profit margins are way, way, way higher than they should ever realistically be. But it's been great. It's been more streamlined. It's easier to hire people to do. It's a lot less work as well. So it's just been kind of nice to have. It's great to transition people from PPC to SEO when they're ready for that. And it's just simple. You know, there have been so many struggles that I've had on the SEO side of things with an agency. I'm like, wow, this is a major growing pain. Like, how do we do this? How do we do this consistently? How do we kind of build out this process for this like complex task while also having it kind of streamlined? And then on the PPC side of things, I just felt like, man, like I must be really shit at owning an agency if like all these things that seem pretty basic, like I just can't figure out. And then as soon as we transitioned to PPC, it was like, okay, this is actually really easy to do on this other side of things. It's just that SEO is just way more complex than even I ever realized, even on the agency side of things. And so it's just nicer to have something that's more streamlined and able to make in a processes a little bit easier, just because I've become very process oriented. It is less fun for me though, personally, because there's a lot less that I can do for the automation. Yes, there's a bunch of scripts and stuff that you can create, but they're a lot less viable compared to, you know, what we're doing in SEO, where I might like connect to some API to like scrape Google, export this data, and like do a bunch of crazy stuff in Google Sheets.
No, I get that. But, you know, I think that having gone through the learning process with Facebook ads, thanks to Dino, I totally understand what you mean. Like, to me, ads have a lot less moving parts. Like, they're still complex and there's still a lot of nuances that you need to understand, but it's so much easier to teach to someone than the whole intricacies of SEO and all of the variables that come with SEO. But that being said, I also think that that comes kind of down to the way that you learn it. And obviously everyone learns differently. But what I really liked when I went through Dino's course, and let me paint you a word picture. This is on the big TV in the living room with a laptop connected to the TV, my wife and I sitting on the couch and just watching it, right? And because we're both really impatient, we would always watch it at like 1.5 speed as well. And so Dino just sounds like Mickey Mouse. But what I really liked about your course was the way that you teach really like unlocked something in my brain, which is that you taught everything without ever seeming like condescending or anything like that. It was very matter of factly, and it was just like, we're going to start zero and we're going to build up your knowledge no matter where you're at. Here, like, this is the baseline, we're going to establish it and then we're going to build up. How much of a learning process was teaching for you when you were starting to build these courses, do you know?
Oh gosh, the amount of things I've learned coaching and putting together a program is insane. It's anything. It's definitely not passive income, right? Everybody thinks if I launch a course, like it's just passive income. And granted, actually, I think there's plenty of marketers who have that business model and philosophy, is that, okay, the course is built, so it's done. But one of the things I particularly with Facebook ads, right? And it probably depends on your niche, where you can put together a back-end program, perhaps on sales, and the fundamentals never change. With Facebook ads, it updates pretty frequently. And so with updates, right, there should be new training on covering, hey, new ad placements, and CBO all of a sudden comes out, and that's something different. And then Facebook acquired Instagram, and you can now, play, obviously that network. So there's different things. And so I think one of the reasons that our program has done so well in terms of producing student success stories and rates is having to consistently update the training. So it's really getting feedback from your members. Like, you get questions, the same questions over and over again. And so when that happens, then it's, okay, how do I reshoot this video and explain it in a different fashion or slower, whatever it is, so that people can understand it better. But yeah, there's so much to learn with doing a course. Then you have to build a team around it. You have to handle support tickets, people that can't log into it, and so forth. And so there's operations you have to create, and SOPs that have to be created there as well. And then marketing it is a completely different thing, because it's really interesting, versus like a local marketing campaign where you're against some other agencies, and most likely if it's a bigger agency, then they have the young account reps, and not all big agencies, but I've noticed, at least, and it seems like in Southern California, the really, really, really big agencies have a churn and burn client model, where they're really not looking for the long-term contract. They're kind of just how many clients can they get on board and kind of kick out the door.
Sure.
And so yeah, I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, it's a different thing marketing a course, because then you're against like the Russell Brunsons who are also running ads for their own programs, and so it's a different ball game. You have to it sharpens your skills, and it makes you think differently, creativity wise. And I think that's the most exciting thing about paid ads is the creativity factor that's available to us. Even Google PPC, I'm sure, Jarod, you enjoy split testing headlines and catchy phrases and things like that. And with Facebook ads, you can put together cool videos and fun copy. And that's just what I've come to enjoy quite a bit, in that regard.
Sure. I think that the one thing that you touched on that is really big, though, is the role that the community plays in that. And I think that that's something else that you've done exceptionally well. Is so for the people that don't know this, when you join Dino's Facebook course, one of the things that happens is that you're invited into this Facebook community that is private and only 2 people that have taken part in the course. And what I found really interesting is when I observed that it seems to work as a vehicle for a couple of different things that are really remarkable. The first thing is people that already are finding success because of what they've learned are motivating new members that are still trying to find that motivation. The second thing is that I found that members are supporting other members when they get stuck, which is amazing, right? Like you see people all the time being like, man, I just can't crack this niche. I just can't figure out what's wrong with this landing page or whatever. And then like 10 other people are like, oh, dude, you messed up the subject line or whatever it is. And then the third thing is that I feel like it keeps a lot of people accountable as well, because they join that and they see other people posting their progress. And so they're constantly reminded that if they don't put in the work that everyone else is putting in, they're not going to have the same success that everyone else is putting in. And so I found that really, really interesting. And I think, I've been added to so many groups over time for courses, for products I've bought and stuff. And it's very rare that you find a community that is in such good shape. So first of all, well done. But second of all, I'm sure that was a lot of work in itself.
It was a lot of work, and it was a lot of work, and it's worth it for a lot of different reasons. It creates a win-win situation when you have an awesome community, in the sense that members help each other out, and they're get better results. They start growing their agency because they have additional support from other members. There's partnerships being formed. People are openly sharing what's working for them. So it becomes a cheat code for the community, because rather than just having data from what's working in your, 10, 20, 30 marketing campaigns at your agency, all of a sudden you have data that's working for what we have 866 members right now, and they're all sharing what's working openly. And that's really cool because, first off, it's a non-competitive type of group of people. I think just our marketing on the front end pulls those types of people in, but that's really cool. But it's an unfair advantage because we have so much data, across all these different niches and everything. But it is a lot of work. We have a full team that helps, multiple coaches that are helping to answer questions in a timely fashion and cover weekly trainings and stuff like that. So yeah, again, I approached it as like, I'm not trying to make a program that's the passive income thing. It's required a team around it. But it's been really fulfilling and a ton of fun. So yeah, really enjoying it.
Yeah, I can see why that would be so much work though. Like I can see both sides of the coin there. Like I can see how fulfilling it would be because of course, people are super grateful for the training that was provided and all of that. But I can also imagine that for every person that is going in there to thank you about that, there's also the person that's not read any of the FAQs, that's not read any of the previous threads that ask the same exact question that 200 other people have asked previously. So I can see how it is like, it is a proper job. And also, I have been on those courses of the people that think that a course would be a passive income model, and that is the worst because you just feel like you were robbed. So yeah, no, I totally get that. Well, we have like 10-15 minutes left. I wanted to switch it up and ask both of you, and then I'll chime in as well. But based on the journey that you've gone through so far, Jarod, we'll start with you. Based on the journey that we've gone through so far, what would you say is like your main focus for, let's say, the next 12 months?
So for me, the focus right now is removing myself from the fulfillment side of things as much as possible, which is something that I've been working towards slowly but surely. So for example, brought on a developer who I'm hoping, and so far he's doing great, who's going to be handling the execution side of things so I can move more into just the strategy side of things and just focus on basically getting the agency to where I only need to spend a couple hours a day on it so I can focus on more of what I'm doing on the side. Like I have my affiliate sites, I have consulting that I do occasionally, I have, various SaaS products that I'm like, here's just my list of things to do, where the agency to me is more of a cash flow model. It's something that brings in the cash, gives me my paycheck, gives me some amount of distributions, and allows me to basically, when I'm putting out content and people are like, hey, I want to hire you, that I have a place for them to hire me from if
Right.
I can take them on. So for me, it's just a matter of really nailing down exactly what we do, what we don't want to do, and kind of moving away from it. Because we've been around for, the agency itself has only been around for about 2 years, and it's been kind of trying a bunch of stuff, being like, okay, great, this didn't work, trying a bunch of other stuff. Okay, this worked, this didn't work. And now it's just a matter of, okay, taking everything that we've learned, how are we actually gonna, kind of move forward, rather than what most people do, just because I'm really bad at this, is most people start off with going, okay, great, this is how we're gonna do things just because it makes sense in their mind, where I actually played around with, okay, what if we try a little bit more volume? What if we try more high-end stuff? What if we try working in these markets? So it's just a matter of removing myself as much as possible right now so I can focus on the stuff that actually, that I want to stay up till 3 a.m. doing, which isn't, going into a website or like planning out strategy or really even like talking to clients anymore.
I get it. Yeah,
Love it.
well, that's interesting, and that's super achievable too.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
As far as like 12-month goals and things,
Yeah.
well, it's funny to see the progression. I mean, I just love like strategy overall has become something I'm just absolutely obsessed with. And love Facebook ads, love strategy. And it's just interesting to see the progression of members in our program. They've gone through launching a local agency, and then once people reach about 10K a month, all of a sudden, normally their interest becomes, okay, now how do I launch my own course or my own program and become a coach? And so kind of recently built a back-end program around that as well. And so now it's more in looking forward, I think I'm going to be more in the space of coaching those experts on how to go ahead and put together a program that delivers exceptional results for their clients. But the main thing everybody is like, how do I acquire customers or clients on demand? There's so many experts out there who want to kind of learn that next step and have a back-end program and and mentorship, and especially in interesting times like this, right? Like I'm in a mastermind myself, and it's awesome. It's like the first official mastermind I've ever joined. It was a ridiculous investment, and I won't get into the numbers of it, but it's so amazing to be surrounded by people that just they're thinking differently. What everybody's working on is unique. I think that's really kind of cool too, is the fact that everybody in this mastermind is in a different niche. They're all coaches, but like there's some people that are sex therapists, there's some people that do relationship stuff, there's people that do spirituality, there's motivational coaches, there's sales coaches, there's like, so everybody's in these different niches. But it's so interesting to have a chance to sit down and chat with everybody and see what everybody's kind of doing with at that type of level, and kind of what they're planning and thinking. And otherwise, I've one of the things like I haven't been the best at is like I definitely will get in my exercise every single day, but it's little things like taking time to meditate. And I've been introduced to something called breath work, which is really interesting, but we normally don't realize how short of breath we take every single day. We're like doing these short breath, whereas something like yoga, right? They teach you to breathe in deep and hold it, and that lowers your stress and your heart rate and all these other things. So that's just been a fun experience. But yeah, 12 months out, it's really looking to grow the coaching business further, and the agency runs pretty well for itself. I still am involved in our kind of our top client projects, but that's mostly been systemized. And so yeah, I'm just having fun, and to be honest, the one thing I'm focusing on too is I'm pretty soon I'm gonna try and do. I think we might start this in May, but I'm gonna try and test this thing out called 30 for 30, and I'm gonna see what happens if I release 30 YouTube videos over the course of 30 days. I just want to see what that does for traffic, client lead gen, and exposure. And so
that's awesome.
I'll post whether it's an epic failure or if it helps. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, you're one of those people, though, Dino, that I know that when you say you're going to do 30 for 30, that you're actually accountable and you'll do it. I don't know why I have like this huge block when it comes to socials. And I'll be like, I'm going to post just a status update every single day for like a month. And man, it'll be 2 days in. And then I'll skip like 2 days and I'll be like, oh, shit, I forgot. But I think that's also just because I don't do very much. And so I really struggle to get creative and think of funny things to post. That's one of those things where someone like Craig Campbell is amazing, because he just, he crushes it. He does so much funny stuff.
That guy has me in tears consistently. Like, he is just so funny. Oh my gosh.
The thing is, like, he's very spontaneous, and so he just comes out with something where you're just not ready, you just didn't prepare to be hit with that. That's crazy. For me, 12 months, it's interesting. If we talked about this a couple of months ago before the whole virus situation, I think I would have said totally different things. But I think in a weird way, having been out of the office now for coming up to a month, I think, has really, really changed my perspective on a lot of things. So over the next 12 months, I think main thing is for me to free myself from the desk again. I want to do a lot more location independent stuff, a lot more, whatever, masterminds and stuff like that. And we have another business. It's an investment business where we buy and build out affiliate projects and that kind of stuff. We've been really aggressive on that. So just want to grow that side of things. And then we also want to release our first SaaS project before the end of this year. But on a personal level, honestly, what it's all about is those kind of relationship building things between me and Lindsay, my wife, you know, like going out camping in a place where we have no reception and we're just hanging out and chilling and loving each other, and you know, and then on the other side, what I just found that was like an eye-opener last year for me was privately organized masterminds. I just get such a kick out of that. Like literally calling up the people that I admire as entrepreneurs that are doing similar stuff, totally different stuff, whatever, getting them all into a room, like just renting an Airbnb, getting them all into a room and saying, hey, let's jam for like 2 days. And, you know, we'll order a bunch of good food and do that. And once we're able to travel again, I want to do a lot more of that, because it's kind of like what you said right at the beginning of this conversation, Dino, the ability to fast forward through a bunch of failures by being able to learn from other people, be it in a course or in a mastermind, is just so undervalued. And, you know, for the sake of a, you know, a $2,000 Airbnb or whatever, it's surreal how much you can speed up your progress. And that's what's been getting me really excited recently. It's just like, as we're stuck in here and we're just working on our stuff, just thinking like, man, we can start doing that stuff again soon.
Right.
But that's basically me.
I love it, man. I love that you included some of your personal goals in there, as well as getting out to go camping. And I think everybody is craving. I mean, we can go outside, but I mean, like the beaches are closed here, for example. The hiking trails are closed. So it's going to be, I think, really interesting when everything opens back up to see what happens. It'll be funny to say the least.
It's gonna be wild.
I have to ask you guys really quick, completely changing completely different subjects here, but I thought this would be fun. I joined TikTok like 2 or 3 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, because I just wanted to grab my handle and like secure a couple of handles on there, which I would recommend everybody do, just as we don't know what direction it's going. But what do you guys think? Is TikTok? I mean, it is the fastest growing network. It is mostly 10 to like 15-year-olds on there right now as like the main demographic, right? But what I find so interesting is that Facebook started as you had to have a .edu. It started as a college-only platform, right? And look how it's evolved, what it's evolved into now. I think the fastest growing demographic on Facebook now is like 55 years of age plus. And then we had Instagram, which also kind of just started with the younger crowd as well. And now it's also kind of a business tool. So I imagine TikTok will evolve in time, and then naturally us old folk will scare away all the young kids from using it, and so they'll go create Bang Bang or something like that. some other crazy named social network where it's for people with a 5-second attention span. I don't know.
What do you think, Jarod?
I mean, so I signed up for TikTok because of Craig Campbell. I would just kept seeing him just like post like hilarious, but like just like the stupidest things where I'm just like, what is he doing on here? So I was like, whatever, I'll just like make my own. And I was like, he's inspired me to make my own. I made like one video. I think that's all I have so far, but it's in like 24 hours, it got like almost 300 views with just me posting like the stupidest thing I could think of. So I think that the views are there, the engagement, you're not going to go on there like and use it like Facebook where you can have your own groups, or at least as of right now, you're not going to like have your own groups. You're able to like, here's our community in this where we're pitching our thing or like whatever. I think it's very good for the impression. I think it's going to be very good for showing off your personality. Whether how well it'll grow is always up in the air. Anything could happen, but I think it's something that everyone should be on, just because you never know where it's going to go. Because even if the demographic stays fairly young, there's still things to be gained from that, because that kids are laying down with their parents going like, hey, look at this funny TikTok that I just saw, or whatever it may be. And like people are going that and they're like, oh wait, don't I get targeted by Dino's Facebook ads? What the hell are you doing on TikTok? And then like, oh wow, he has a whole thing. But like I've seen some really interesting ones where people do have like business advice on there. Like there are accountants making like funny accounting based videos about like how to like fill out this form or whatever. So I think that there's a lot of things you can do with it. As it's just you have to be so engaging in a very different way compared to things like Instagram, which you can just put up like a stupid motivational quote and everyone loves you, or like Facebook, where Facebook's tended to be a little bit more like casual business oriented. But for those people like Craig who can just do whatever and kind of make it work, it's going to be really, really good for him.
I agree, but I'm really uneducated on TikTok, so let me just preface it with this. But I think that it's going to target a similar demographic to Instagram. I think that what we're going to see is probably a big company like Google, Apple, or Facebook buying, trying to buy into it for advertising because of that data. And I think it's going to be excellent, especially for product placements and stuff like that, because it's just, you just keep showing people that flashing, image of whatever it is that you're trying to push, and it's going to work really well. And, from a I'm going to say retargeting point of view, it's really smart too, right? Like being able to target people on there with something that's funny and short and just in your face. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm going to be interested to see which way it's going to go. But like Dino said, I mean, it's the fastest growing platform right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if it actually survived for a while.
It'll be interesting. I have no idea. I can say that some of the videos on there are absolutely hilarious. My wife and I literally like spent an hour on that last night on the couch, like in tears, laughing. Like it is incredible. I think it's especially funny right now, considering that with everything going on with the virus, like people are beyond bored.
Right.
I mean, there's like what people have the time to do right now, and what they're actually doing just to produce a funny 30-second TikTok video is pretty remarkable. So entertainment value is definitely there right now, but it'll be interesting to see. I'm just super curious if they're going to change the layout, kind of like Instagram did, and all of a sudden there's links, external links and things where you can drive traffic from it. Who knows? But yeah,
we'll see. We'll see.
Time will tell.
I mean, it could go the Instagram route. It could also go, what was that platform? Vine?
Yeah, Vine.
Who remembers Vine? That was like, what, 2 years ago? And
but what's interesting is that there are a lot of people that were made very, very, very wealthy on Vine. And
sure.
like they're on like TV now and everything like that. So it's, it's one of those platforms that for personalities, it's going to do very, very well if you have a personality.
Well, I'm shit out of luck.
You have a nice stash though, so you can do something around the stash.
Man. Yeah. I'll sign up to Pornhub. Yeah, I think that's going to come off in the next couple of days after I've taken a couple of more Mario Kart style stock photos.
There you go. They work too. The Mario Kart stock photos, they work in Facebook ads.
I bet they do.
Just so you know, yeah. Who doesn't like Mario? So
that's right. Well, chaps, thanks so much for giving us the time. It's been very real catching up, and I think it's just so fascinating to kind of see the journey that people have taken, and we should try to remember to check in 12 months and see how much of the stuff that we said we actually did, and how many times that pivoted and changed once again.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Agreed. Yeah, good chatting with you fellows. Glad you guys are both doing well. It must be late where you're at.
7 p.m. It's not that bad. that's why the sun's still out. Yeah, no, let's catch up soon. And what I'll do as well is once this whole video has what do you say, been processed by Facebook, I'll post links on the video to everyone's sites and platforms where they, where you can find Dino, Jarod, myself. And yeah, thanks so much for coming, Dino. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on, fellas. It was fun talking shop. We'll definitely have to chat about grabbing that Airbnb and all of us catching up for a weekend once we're allowed to, I don't
to
know,
surface again.
see people in person.
Right. Okay, let me go off. Boom. Okay, so it'll be the actual Facebook stream will go off in like 20.